Please be seated, and welcome and a good evening to you all. As Chancellor of Middlesex University, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the inauguration of our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Shân Wareing. However, before we start, I do need to go through some housekeeping information, so please bear with me. It's for your comfort and your safety. So, we're not expecting a fire alarm this evening, but I need to tell you where the fire exits and the assembly points are. They're located outside in what we call the paddock. This is the grass area to the left of the building when you go out the front. There's also an assembly point by the grove, and this is to the right when you exit the main building. If you happen to have a first aid emergency, the campus security team are ready, trained, and will be ready to assist. They're in the office to the right of the college building entrance out there. And toilets are located in the central lobby, just outside this lecture room. So if you want gender-neutral toilets, you'll find that they're located in College House, which is on the left of the main building. But now, to the real business of this evening. This inauguration is taking place in the presence of members of our Board of Governors, of our academic board, of members of staff, and students from our various faculties. Here in Hendon, we're very proud to be part of the London Borough of Barnet. So we're delighted to be sharing this special occasion with invited guests from Barnet, from the wider Barnet community, and in particular, I'd like to welcome two special guests. The Worshipful, the Mayor of the London Borough of Barnet, Councillor Tony Vuru, and his wife, Caroline, and a long-standing friend of this university, Martin Russell, who's Representative Deputy Lieutenant for the London Borough of Barnet. We'd also like to welcome guests that we have from across London and across the region as a whole. Thank you all for joining us for this evening. I'd also like to extend a very warm welcome to Professor Ken Badcock, the husband of our Vice-Chancellor, as well as to Francis, Robert, and Vivian, and other family members. Although for this occasion, we're coming together in Barnet on our Hendon campus, Middlesex University is very proud of its global reach. So we're delighted to be joined online from colleagues from our international campuses in Dubai and Mauritius, and by other friends and colleagues from across the globe. and particularly by colleagues from our international campuses. Thank you for staying up late to be part of this special occasion. And it's a real pleasure that Dubai and Mauritius colleagues are not only joining us online, but the Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Director of our Mauritius campus, Professor Marie Janssen van Rensburg, and the Deputy Director of our Dubai campus, Professor Cody Paris, are here with us in person. Thank you both for making the journey so that you could be with us this evening. But now, closer to home, let me introduce to you the platform party. On your far right, we have Mahita Parekh, who's representing the Students' Union. We then have Rebecca Lawrence, Chair of the Board of Governors, and, of course, Professor Shân Wareing, Vice-Chancellor of the University. And as you'll see later, the University Mace plays a very important part in the investiture of a Vice-Chancellor. So I'd also like to welcome Lydia Pollard, our mace bearer, for this evening's ceremony. And I should perhaps say that if any of you are looking with the slightest doubt about our lineup in the platform party, Middlesex University does have a very strong policy in terms of both diversity and inclusion. But this now is the formal investiture of Professor Wareing as our Vice-Chancellor. So I'll now call upon the Chair of the Board of Governors, Rebecca Lawrence, to conduct the ceremonial investiture. Rebecca will be assisted by Mahita Parekh, representing the Students' Union.
On the 20th of February 2024, a meeting of the full Board of Governors formally approved the appointment of Professor Shân Wareing as Middlesex University's new Vice-Chancellor. She took up post on the 22nd of April 2024. I have here the resolution signed by the Chairman of the Corporation and bearing the common seal of Middlesex University.
Professor Wareing, you've accepted the role of Vice-Chancellor of this university. I now ask the Chair of the Board of Governors, supported by the representative of the Students' Union, to invest you formally. You'll first be gowned in the Vice-Chancellor's robes and presented with the university's ceremonial medal, which symbolizes the authority of your office as Vice-Chancellor. You'll then be handed the University Mace, which symbolizes the authority and the independence of the university. The Middlesex mace is the symbol of the authority of the corporation and of the whole university. In handing you this mace, we entrust you with the duties and responsibilities set out in the instruments and articles of government approved by His Majesty's Privy Council. I now call upon the Chair of the Board of Governors, Rebecca Lawrence, to address the Assembly.
Thank you, Dame Janet. As Chair of Middlesex University's Board of Governors, it's my absolute privilege and pleasure formally to invest Professor Shân Wareing as our new Vice-Chancellor, and to be the first to congratulate you, Shân, on your inauguration. We will all hear Shân speak shortly. Her no doubt beautiful choice of words, reflecting her academic roots in English language and linguistics, from which she has built over 20 years of distinguished leadership experience in higher education. The board were delighted to appoint Shân. We have here a leader who is always focused on the development of students and a commitment to excellence. She in turn improved and indeed transformed every university community in which she leads, from Buckinghamshire New University to London South Bank University and Northampton University. From the moment she first came to the Middlesex community, she had such a thoughtful and insightful vision, clear plans and optimism for the future, and a genuine enthusiasm for our unique community. Of course, Shân arrived at a challenging time for the UK higher education sector. Since then, I know I speak for the whole board when I say that her experience is giving this university the strength and leadership it needs to meet our society's quite rightly high expectations of higher education, and to ensure our students and communities continue to thrive. You just can't help being drawn into her passion for broadening access to quality education rooted in place in the North London community of this great global city and the regions in which the university operates around the world. Shân is a galvanizing force, bringing in the support of others, all the way from local employers and partners through to government stakeholders in support of our strategic goals. But experience is just one part of what brings us together to celebrate Shân's inauguration to the role of Vice-Chancellor today. What shines through in this leader is rooted in her character and her values. So thank you, Shân, for your calm, human approach and for your very special combination of being grounded and inspiring at the same time. Thank you for what you're bringing day in and day out to the community and for the work you're doing in leading Middlesex. With this, we really celebrate today the well-deserved appointment of a very special leader, and we look forward to the future of Middlesex University under her leadership so that it may transform the lives of students right across the communities and the regions in which we're embedded. So please join me again in congratulating Professor Shân Wareing as the new Vice-Chancellor of Middlesex University.
Thank you, Rebecca. I now call upon Professor Shân Wareing, our Vice-Chancellor, to address the Assembly.
Thank you to Dame Janet and to our Chair Rebecca, to Mahita and to Lydia, and again, welcome from me to all our honoured guests, including the Worshipful, the Mayor of the London Borough of Barnet, Councillor Tony Veru and his wife Caroline, and Martin Russell, Representative Deputy Lieutenant of the London Borough of Barnet. Welcome to all our partners and supporters of the University who are here this evening. We're joined by representatives from London Borough of Barnet, schools, colleges, faith groups, employers and charities. We welcome friends and partners in the higher education community and from other sectors. Welcome to members of our Board of Governors, to university staff and to our students, and welcome to my family and friends. Thank you all for coming. Universities are, of course, primarily communities with a reach that extends across generations and beyond national borders. I'm delighted to be joined this evening by Professor Marie Janssen van Rensburg, Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Director of Mauritius Campus, and Professor Cody Paris, Deputy Director of our Dubai campus. We are proud to be a global university, and our international reach enriches us, and your presence here today symbolises that international reach. We're especially grateful because you've joined us from much sunnier and warmer climates. Universities have many roles in society, but educating students has been the start and is our dominant purpose. I'm delighted that this evening's event includes our students and representatives from the Students' Union. It's possible you haven't been to a Vice-Chancellor inauguration before. Today's ceremony marks the start of a new era for the university, as well as a new beginning for me as Vice-Chancellor. I'm going to talk with slides for about 25 minutes about my personal journey, what drew me to Middlesex, and what I see as the future of our community here. Many of you have supported me in my journey to stand here with you today. And I have learned a great deal from many in the room at different times, and it's been really important for me that you've made this journey to join us here today, and I want to say a huge thank you. More than 30 years ago, I started my first full-time lectureship at what's now the University of Roehampton, teaching English literature and linguistics. In fact, in an office, factoid, in an office next door to one of tonight's guests, Dame Professor Janet Beer. I rapidly became aware of how complicated and exciting teaching is, and I felt very underprepared. As I tried to become a better teacher, I found out that learning and teaching at university level was not really seen as a proper subject of academic inquiry, although at school level, teaching was seen as an area for inquiry and academic endeavour. Students wanting to be primary or secondary school teachers studied teaching at Roehampton and many other universities, but it wasn't at all usual to study teaching for higher education. In the last decade or so of the 20th century, learning in higher education was often understood as a kind of osmosis, a physical absorption of information by students as long as they were in the same room as the lecturer. And there was at least one often repeated joke about this, that a lecture is the process of information passing from the notes of the lecturer to the notes of the student without it passing through the minds of either. I was driven by a belief that we all have the potential to learn and develop and a wish to teach better. I was curious about how we develop as teachers, and this probably isn't a surprise to my husband and children. I was very cross that some authority had defined what was worthy of study and had ruled my interests unworthy. So I channeled my indignation, and not for the first or last time, into activity. And I applied my education, for which I am endlessly grateful, and my research training as a PhD student, to the task of understanding, learning and teaching better. So this is me being awarded my PhD in sociolinguistics from the University of Strathclyde. And what I like about that photo is the slight sense of surprise and great sense of relief at having got it over the line. I began to do my bit to change the way we value learning and teaching in higher education, to see it as an academic discipline in its own right, that we might look at ourselves and our own practices as the subjects of study and improve. And I joined CEDA, the wonderful Staff and Education Development Association, where I met people who cared as deeply as I did about how students learn and how to develop teaching, including, on this slide, Professors Paul Bartholomew, Claire Taylor, and Julie Hall. And the four of us are the first VCs, as far as we know, in the UK with specialisms in education development and learning and teaching. And I'm delighted that Professor Julie Hall, who's VC at London Metropolitan University, has joined us this evening. I gained my CEDA fellowship and joined the CEDA Executive Committee and served, as Julie did, a term as co-chair. And I published in my original discipline of linguistics and literature. And then I moved into publishing about education on topics such as whether students learnt differently in different subjects. This slide shows some of my publications, and I'm wondering if you can spot the odd one out. So, top left is not something I've written, but something I knitted. It's my daughter Vivian's cardigan, which I finished in lockdown, and I posted a picture of it on Twitter where it was spotted by the editor of this journal. There is actually another contender for the odd one out. I wouldn't necessarily expect you to pick it out from the cover. Third from left, top row, I contributed a case study to Graham Gibbs's pithily titled publication, Implications of Dimensions of Quality in a Market Environment. Graham was a leading light in education development in the 90s and early 2000s, and I was very flattered that he was interested in the changes that I'd made in assessment practices at the University of the Arts London, which lifted all the national student survey questions on assessment and feedback by 12%, and which remained in place at the university for over a decade, long after I'd left. Anyway, it turned out that Graham didn't like the way that I'd done it. And he wrote up the case study saying it was the wrong kind of change and it wouldn't have worked at a better university. Cheeky blighter. So I keep the publication as a trophy to the wrong kind of change. I was awarded a National Teaching Fellowship in 2011 and a professorship in teaching in higher education later that same year, and became a principal of the Higher Education Academy a couple of years later. And just like that, the years rolled by, and my questions about how we teach better became questions about how we lead better, and how universities make decisions and allocate resources, and why executive teams sometimes appear to tolerate fractured, inefficient, ineffective systems, and how to make those systems better, and how we bring out the best in the people we work with. And this became my next topic of study. I published on building teams, on equality, diversity and inclusion, and on gender and leadership, and also on the impact of technology on education and professional services, and on transformational organisational change and digital developments. And once on whether Star Wars holds the secrets of the future of academic libraries. I wanted to make changes in higher education through leadership, and I also wanted to change leadership itself. Who leads, how we lead, and why we lead. Through contributing to courses such as Aurora, run by the national organisation, Advance HE, and through platforms such as Wonky, Times Higher Education and the Higher Education Policy Institute, I was able to enter into dialogue with the wider sector about how we understand leadership, who obtains leadership positions, and how it could be different. And this was always inherently connected to my original goal of wanting to learn from others, to share what I was learning with others and to enable others to grow and achieve more than they thought possible. But to give a fuller picture of what I was doing all this time, I should add that in parallel to studying and working, I took up competitive sport as an undergraduate, and this profoundly affected my choices and opportunities afterwards. Rowing was my first significant experience of being part of a team, and one of the ways that I found I really could go further than I ever thought possible. My Students' Union colleagues know that I profoundly support opportunities for students to participate in sport. Alongside all the direct benefits of strength and fitness, university sports offer the chance to develop the skills which come from organising minibuses and collecting kitty money, voting committee members in and out, managing your time when exams and regattas coincide. I began to understand leadership, resilience, and the concepts of capital investment and depreciation as a result of being on the boat club committee. I rowed for Oxford against Cambridge in the university second women's 8, and I earned a half blue, and I rowed in the fastest women's college boat in Oxford in 1986. I'm third from the left in the colour photo of the 8, and third from the top in the black and white photo, not including the cocks. And in the other photo is my quad scull crew at Henley Women's Regatta a decade later. So if you know Oxford, you might recognise the left-hand photo as the River Thames, the Isis, taken from Donington Bridge, and you can see our supporters running along the towpath in college colours of red and black. Our 8 rose from 5th place to head of the river in 2 days, which gave me the opportunity to return to Donington Bridge one evening with some pots of paint and brushes to participate in what you might call graffiti. But which I believe is more correctly termed nowadays as authentic student-generated social media. I developed a love of sports which has never left me, even though I no longer row. My experience of competitive sport was that there was a time when the effort of learning how to sit a boat so it's balanced and how to hold the blade, the pain of building muscles all fell away in the pleasure of effort translated into boat speed, when movement becomes fluid and easy and the discipline of practice was a joy and not a burden. I learned through rowing and running that even if it seems impossible at the start, there can be a grace and a satisfaction to applying a skill well, even in difficult situations. And that's a belief that I carried from sports into my professional life. Participation in competitive sport and leadership requires resilience, and it's not something we just have. Resilience is something we work on. And my path has not always been linear, and not everything went to plan. There have been lows as well as highs, and painful though they are at the time. In hindsight, it's clear that the lows are often the place we learn most about focusing on what we care about, developing new skills and trying new directions. I'm standing here today not because everything went to plan, but because sometimes it didn't. And one of my messages to our students is that in addition to making plans, be prepared to be flexible and look for the door that opens when another one closes. And don't be afraid to lean on others. No one gets there alone. We just need to remember who helped us and pay forwards by helping others on their journeys when we get a chance. I've been helped and supported on my way by so many people, some here today and some not. And being aware of the opportunities that education opened up for me through qualifications and through access to sport, I am profoundly aware of my responsibility to protect those opportunities for other people, especially anyone for whom the path to education may involve more obstacles. My day job has always been linked to access to education and to supporting academic success, and it's a privilege to serve on the Board of Trustees for Unite Foundation, a charity which provides homes at university for students who've been in care or are estranged from their families. Far fewer students who are care experienced or estranged go to university than from the wider population, and those who do go are less likely to complete their awards or to achieve to the same level. Our research shows that students with a home at university through a Unite Foundation scholarship have the same likelihood of completing their awards with the same outcomes as all other students. If you don't have family support, you lose out on financial help, on a safe place to live outside term time, and on having a buffer between finishing education and starting full-time paid work. Real and pressing as these challenges are, just as profound is that your resilience can really take a hammering if your family don't support you. Some of the most overwhelmingly proud and moving moments in my career have been seeing students who have achieved academic success and fulfilling careers when they seemed out of reach for them, and listening to their accounts of how higher education changed their lives. And there have been a lot of these moments for me already at Middlesex during graduation ceremonies in Hendon and Mauritius, at our partner KMU in Austria, and in our celebrations of 20 years of Middlesex in Dubai, as well as in some of the conversations I've been able to have with students since I joined the university. I'm so delighted that some of our honorary awardees who gave moving speeches at our summer graduation ceremonies are here tonight. So how did my path lead to Middlesex? From my first visits to this campus, I've found so much in common between my own sense of what's important and what drives me, and the purpose and mission of the university community here. And this is something which has only grown with time. I see a shared belief that we all have the potential to learn and develop, and we have the right to succeed, whoever we are and wherever we're coming from. I see a drive to understand and improve students' learning and experiences. I see a focus on building resilience in our students, in our people, and in this organisation, so we are equipped to make our future. I see a belief that we, this university, these students and staff members can go further than we thought possible. And when I think about how we will shape our future, I see a shared commitment to make positive change and to adapt. And I'm glad that I can make my contribution in this new role. I'm going to spend a few minutes describing some of the strengths of Middlesex and why this community and role are so important to me. Middlesex University has a long and honourable record of service and transformation. We were founded in Tottenham nearly 150 years ago as St Catherine's College, a teacher training college preparing young women to teach in London's charity schools. And we also developed from the Hornsey College of Art, founded in 1880, to teach fine art, advertising design, and industrial applied art, and from Enfield and Hendon Institutes of Technology. We became Middlesex Poly in 1973 and a university in 1992. And in the last 20 years, we've opened campuses in Dubai, Mauritius, and most recently, China. Middlesex University today provides a wide range of disciplines underpinned by research, which we believe is particularly important for our local communities. Students who want to stay at home to study can come to their local provider and choose subjects and routes aligned to their interests and their passions, and to their own picture of their future. We believe graduates in all disciplines make valuable contributions to the economy and to society. Our local mission is strengthened by our global presence. We bring together people from all over the world, doing our part to address global challenges, including poverty and inequality, climate change and environmental degradation, and supporting peace and justice. Our research and knowledge exchange contribute to resolving problems in the world around us in the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And through researching areas of common interest, we strengthen our relationships with businesses, professions, and charities, with local and national government, and with our neighbouring education providers. The partnerships and relationships we have with professions and employers help to make sure our courses are up to date and relevant to the world our graduates will work in and shape. We prepare students to succeed in their chosen careers, and beyond that, to shape the future of their professions and areas of work. When I arrived here for my interview almost a year ago, I was really impressed when the student panel told me that Middlesex had given them the chance to develop as leaders. And this is such an important part of our approach, because today's students are our future and they will shape the world. It's social mobility when any graduate has the chance to rise to the top of their particular career ladder. Here are some specific examples of our work, and you can find more in the documents on your seats. Almost 1,800 nurses and midwives and close to 500 teachers and 230 social workers graduate annually from Middlesex. We've helped train police officers for Surrey, Sussex and Hampshire police forces through the Police Education Consortium, and Thames Valley Police are now joining us. We're the largest UK HE provider in the United Arab Emirates, celebrating our 20th anniversary in Dubai this year with a record number of new and returning students. We've received a £2 million grant from the UK Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office to provide 60 bursaries for students of Chagossian descent over the next 5 years, and we're celebrating a 25% increase in enrolments in Mauritius this year. And in September on Hainan Island, we celebrated the start of the new academic year in our international collaboration with Middlesex University, the leading creative arts higher education provider in China. I'm sure that everybody here today knows that these are turbulent and challenging times for higher education in the UK. Finances are and will continue to be constrained, requiring fundamental changes in the way we work, and yet the number of young people in the UK population still grows, and we struggle with national staff shortages in areas where we need educated workers. Despite the churn in our environment, the purpose of Middlesex University remains crystal clear and closely aligned to this government's agenda. The Education Secretary has called on the sector for reform, focusing on 5 priorities. She asked us to play a stronger role in expanding access and improving outcomes for disadvantaged students, to make a stronger contribution to economic growth, to play a greater civic role in our communities, to raise the bar higher on teaching, and for all this to be underpinned with a sustained efficiency and reform programme. These 5 priorities are already inherent in our work, and so for us, the Education Secretary's call for action is as much an opportunity as a challenge. We have refreshed our university strategy to reflect the external environment and to re-emphasise the alignment of our mission to the government's agenda, and we will use the government's call to action to sharpen our focus on these areas. Higher education is sometimes called an individual good, and I have received immense benefits from my own education, and I have endeavoured to support others in achieving their potential. HE is also a public good from which we all benefit. It underpins our collective prosperity and productivity, our services and our professions. It supports culture and the arts and the UK's reputation overseas. For these reasons and more, I am proud to work in higher education, and specifically here at Middlesex. I hold this position as Vice-Chancellor in stewardship. Even a long term in office for a Vice-Chancellor is a relatively short time in the lifespan of a university. For this time that I have, I will endeavour to strengthen the university and its status as an anchor institution. I will honour our commitments to educate local people so they can access graduate level work and careers, contributing to their prosperity and that of their families, to their choices about their work, to their well-being and to their satisfaction with their lives. We'll support local employers to recruit, retain and develop graduates with the knowledge and skills that they need, and we'll work with local government, charities and employers to help make the communities where our campuses are welcoming, inclusive and inspiring places to visit and to live, to study and to work in. These commitments are our responsibility, and they are our sources of professional and personal satisfaction. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for being part of one more step in Middlesex University's history and future.
please say on behalf of everyone here, thank you to Shân for what I'm sure you'll agree has been a truly inspiring inaugural lecture. Thank you for the personal details that you shared with us, which are in all sorts of ways truly motivating. Thank you too for the inspirational leadership that you're advocating, and indeed, as the Chair of the Board of Governors said, already providing. We who know and love and care for and are part of Middlesex will aim to make you proud. I think I should also at this stage say that those of you who know and love Middlesex won't have been surprised to see that our students have been very much part of this evening's ceremony. As the Vice-Chancellor said, we see students as the lifeblood of this institution. And that's why there are students here in the audience this evening. And I hope that there are also students still well represented in our worldwide audience too. And as you saw, both Mahita and Lydia from the Students' Union played a key role in the investiture. It's not easy, and they did it beautifully. Thank you. And I hope you also enjoyed the students who sang for us at the beginning of the evening. My thanks to them too for their contribution, and of course to the members of staff who've been working hard with them. And needless to say, there are many other members of staff who've been working hard to make this a truly memorable evening. Too many of them for me to name individually, but please, all of you, accept my thanks. Thank you for all you've done and for all that you're still doing to make this an evening that feels so very special. Because the ceremony that we've been sharing, the ceremony which formally invests its Vice-Chancellor, is a landmark occasion in the life of any institution. It's an occasion we've been really looking forward to and wanting to share with you. So I do hope you've all enjoyed it, including our Vice-Chancellor. Thank you all for taking part, whether you're here in person or have been joining us via the live stream. Thank you for helping us celebrate in style. It's a delight, indeed, it's a real honour to have so many of you here to mark this historic occasion. I'm only sorry that for those of you online, we need now to say goodbye. But for those of you here in the room, the night is young. So please now join us back in the quadrangle where we can continue celebrating with our new, or should I say newish, Vice-Chancellor, and join in true celebrations. So may I now invite you all to stand as we, the platform party, head off for the quadrangle. Thank you all very much.